The socket of Emma's prosthetic leg keeps causing painful infections, so Dorothy takes her to the prosthetic company, but they admit they don't know how to help. They think about contacting Tom, the salesperson they met last time, but Dorothy has already thrown away his card. On the way home, they're surprised to see Tom on the street promoting his new prosthetic adjustment service. Tom explains he quit his sales job to open his own business because he actually has a degree in prosthetics. He assures Emma he can help fix her prosthetic. Meanwhile, David and Linda are on a business trip together. Their connection grows deeper, with hints of romantic feelings between them. Alice finally signs the work contract with Mr. Jones' company and starts looking for a place closer to her new job. Karen, feeling abandoned, burns tribute money in her rented house and vent to her late husband and son. The landlord finds out and threatens to evict her, calling both Alice and Henry to resolve the issue. Henry arrives first and manages to calm the landlord down by offering to pay an extra 2 months' rent. It turns out that Henry has been quietly helping Alice and Karen with rent payments every month. When Alice returns, she's angry about what her mother did, but Karen calls her naive for blindly loving Henry. That night, Alice leaves home again, which upsets Karen, who almost decides to pack and leave but instead comes up with a new idea. A few days later, Linda's mother passes away, and she takes time off work. David visits her, and Linda admits that she feels guilty for feeling some relief at her mother's passing. David understands her guilt, and the two can't resist their attraction, ultimately ending up sleeping together. Karen, meanwhile, pretends to be ill and checks herself into the hospital, calling Alice to come visit. There, she tries to guilt-trip Alice, making her feel that she's abandoned her sick mother. Henry also shows up, and when he hears Alice saying she feels guilty for neglecting her mother, he tells her that Karen is just trying to manipulate and control her. He explains that his own parents are even older than Karen yet still work hard and live with their own purposes without burdening him. But Alice defends Karen, saying every family is different, and Karen, as a single mother, has given her whole life to raise Alice and Peter. Tom frequently visits Emma to make adjustments to her prosthetic. One day, David's interview is on TV, where he talks about his dedication to caring for her. His words irritate Emma because she knows they're untrue. Ever since her amputation, he's barely been around and has never taken her out for a walk. David's behavior becomes more shameless as he continues seeing Linda daily, leaving Emma's struggle to walk at home. He lies to both Dorothy and his own mother whenever they call, telling each that he's with the other. Karen arranges a meeting with Henry and hands him a marriage schedule as a final notice for him and Alice. When Henry objects, pointing out that he and Alice have only been dating for a few months and aren't ready for marriage, Karen demands to know why he slept with her daughter if he wasn't planning to marry her. She goes further, threatening to make a scene at both his and his parents' workplaces if they don't comply. Henry is stunned, feeling blindsided. When Alice arrives, he accuses her of scheming with her mother. Alice panics, apologizing and swearing she'll keep Karen from doing anything to hurt him or his family, but Henry remains visibly upset. Meanwhile, Dorothy visits David's parents. After chatting with them, she quickly realizes David has been lying about his schedule. Although Dorothy often appears carefree, she instantly senses something is wrong. Not long after, David's mother herself catches David and Linda together at a supermarket, where they're buying protection and behaving inappropriately. Shocked, her initial disgust isn't just about him cheating, but about who he's cheating with. She considers Linda, an average-looking, middle-aged woman, a poor choice, and she worries that if Dorothy finds out, it could ruin David's career and reputation. Dorothy quietly investigates David's behavior and soon discovers that the woman he's cheating with is Linda. Although David initially considers ending things with Linda after being caught by his mother, he ultimately continues visiting her daily. Meanwhile, Alice, influenced by her mother Karen, wants Henry to introduce her to his parents. However, Mr. Jones, who hired Alice, used this favor to pressure Henry's father. As a result, Henry's mother scolds him, and both his parents develop a negative impression of Alice. Henry tells Alice to wait before meeting his parents, but this leaves her feeling uneasy and rejected. With Tom's encouragement and adjustments to her prosthetic, Emma decides to try dancing again. Gradually, she regains her confidence and even starts lifting weights with Brandon at the gym to build her strength. One evening, David goes out with old friends and sees their adorable young daughter. He returns home drunk, tearfully telling Emma that he wants a child and will do anything to fix her situation. Though Emma doesn't fully understand his intentions, his words leave her feeling suspicious and uneasy. to reassure her mother, Alice buys a fake designer bracelet and gives it to Karen, claiming that Henry's mother gifted it as an apology for not being able to meet her, due to an extended business trip abroad. Hearing that the bracelet is valuable, Karen feels somewhat reassured, taking it as a sign of respect from Henry's family towards her and Alice. However, at Henry's graduation ceremony, his mother attends alongside a young neighbor girl. Karen approaches her, thanking her for the bracelet, but Henry's mother bluntly responds that she has never met Alice and never gifted anything to Karen. Embarrassed and humiliated, Alice runs away. Karen, offended by Henry's mother's distant attitude, believes they look down on her and her daughter. Alice accuses Henry of lying, while Henry, feeling increasingly frustrated, sees Alice as becoming manipulative like Karen. Their argument escalates, and when Alice tries to stop him from walking away, Henry pushes her, causing her to fall. Immediately remorseful, Henry reaches out to help, but Karen witnesses the incident and furiously berates him. Seizing the moment, Karen convinces Alice that Beijing isn't right for her and that someone like Henry could never love her sincerely, and this time Alice believes her. Meanwhile, Dorothy continues her investigation into David's affair, and she manages to take photos of him and Linda in their intimate moment as an evidence for his infidelity. David's parents decide it's time to pressure Emma into a divorce to free their son. David's mother meets with Dorothy and, under the guise of sympathy, tells her that David's father is seriously ill and wishes to see grandchildren before he passes. She asks Dorothy to encourage Emma to divorce David, promising financial compensation in return. Dorothy, disgusted by their blatant self-interest, agrees only on the condition that they give Emma their valuable storefront worth 2 million yuan. At this, David's mother loses her temper, revealing her true colors. Meanwhile, at home, David subtly leaves out a medical report for Emma to find, showing she likely can't have children. Heartbroken, Emma confronts Dorothy, feeling deceived that this news had been hidden from her. Dorothy immediately realizes that David intentionally left the report to manipulate Emma into self-blame. Emma decides to end the marriage to free David. She even goes to David's workplace, explaining to his boss that the divorce is her own decision, hoping to preserve his reputation. Elsewhere, Karen visits Henry at his office, but this time, she has a different plan. Rather than pushing him to marry Alice, she implores him to let Alice go. She accuses him of being a mama's boy who can't provide Alice with the happiness or protection she deserves. She suggests that Alice's desire to stay in Beijing is mostly tied to Henry, and that if he steps back, Alice will return home where Karen can find her a stable job and a suitable partner. Dorothy later confronts David's mother once more, seeing through their efforts to make Emma feel like a burden. This time, Dorothy drops her own revelation. She knows about David's infidelity. David's mother tries to deny it even when Dorothy says she has the proof. As they are arguing loudly, David's father steps in and apologizes to Dorothy and Emma. He agrees to the arrangement, offering to give Emma the storefront and brings the paperwork to hand over to Dorothy. Feeling sorry for her daughter, Dorothy begins to cry. After Karen's visit, Henry decides to call Alice to break up. He tells her he can't marry her and that she should go back to her hometown with her mother. Heartbroken, Alice tells him that whether she stays in Beijing or not is none of his business. Emma and David finalize their divorce. Outside the city hall, David snaps at Emma, accusing her of blackmailing his parents while pretending to be innocent. Shocked, Emma has no idea Dorothy negotiated for the storefront, so she's deeply upset. She confronts her mother, insisting they give it back to David's family. Emma then learns of David's infidelity, which only strengthens her resolve to refuse any support from his family. Dorothy, seeing Emma's reaction, feels both pity and frustration, believing Emma deserves the store and will need it for her future. When Emma decides to leave home over the argument, Dorothy, recognizing her daughter's stubbornness, tells her that if anyone should leave, it's her. Dorothy then moves into the storefront and starts cleaning it up. Determined to stay positive, she shares her plan with Brandon, who visits her at the store, saying she intends to open a fried chicken shop there. Karen finally returns home, and Alice, wanting no further involvement with Henry or his family, resigns from Mr. Zheng's company. She tries to rent a new place, where she unexpectedly runs into her old high school friend Andrew, now a programmer at a major company. Alice admires his success, feeling inspired. Meanwhile, Brandon urges Emma to make peace with her mother, but she refuses. Brandon then advises her to stay strong and brings her to confront David's family. Linda is also there. Emma uses all her savings to pay off part of the storefront's value and promises to continue payments until she completes the 2 million yuan.
David's family shows some regret, but Linda coldly suggests Emma move on so everyone else can live. Emma stares Linda down, warning that she has photos of Linda with her husband and could make them public if she doesn't behave. Though Emma tries to appear strong, she's heartbroken inside. To lift her spirits, Brandon takes her to a park, reminding her that at least now she's free to do whatever she wants. Back in her hometown, Alice, along with Karen, visits Dorothy and Emma. The four women are overcome with emotion, tearfully reconnecting after all they've been through. Dorothy's successful weight loss even leaves Karen barely recognizing her. Emma restarts her dance journey, sharing videos on her dance account, which gain a lot of positive attention online. Tom helps with the filming, while Brandon, though grumbling initially, agrees to join as her dance partner and choreographer after Emma and Tom promise fair pay. At a family reunion dinner, Karen invites her old friends, hoping to promote Alice to them as an ideal candidate for a job or a husband. Karen falsely claims that Alice has never dated, had a stable job in Beijing, and is being pursued by a professor's son, but wants to return home. Her friends are all impressed. Not only Alice, but also Emma and Dorothy feel uncomfortable with Karen's show. Karen even insists on setting Alice up for a blind date and threatens to starve herself if Alice doesn't marry someone of her choosing. Alice is determined not to attend the blind date Karen arranged, so Karen responds by refusing to eat anything. When Dorothy steps in to mediate, she and Alice discover that Karen has fainted. Rushed to the hospital in time, Karen recovers, and Alice reluctantly agrees to go to the blind date. To her surprise, the date is better than expected. The man is kind and humble, and they find common ground. Like Alice, he also studied in Beijing and has fond memories of the place with his first love. However, Karen is not satisfied and insists that Alice should marry this man soon. Karen learns that the man's family preferred pure girls, so she tricks Alice into undergoing hymen repair under the guise of a cosmetic procedure. Alice realizes her mother's true intentions and leaves angrily. Alice confides in Emma about the constant pressure and suffocation she feels from living with Karen, who often makes her feel like a failure, incapable of achieving anything worthwhile. This time, Alice resolves to stand up for herself and stop allowing her mother to dictate her life. The next day, at her date with the man, Alice dresses in a completely different style, more mature and confident than ever before. Knowing that Karen and the young man's aunt are secretly eavesdropping, she deliberately shares how she's had many past relationships and enjoys a free-spirited lifestyle. Hearing this, the young man's aunt is furious and leaves in a huff, embarrassing Karen in the process. Upset, Karen heads to visit Dorothy, who is busy setting up her fried chicken shop. The two mothers vent about their worries for their daughters and the lengths they've gone to, while their children don't understand their intentions. Meanwhile, Alice spends the night at Emma. Karen tries calling Alice, but Alice ignores her calls. Frustrated, Karen bullies her sister instead, criticizing Dorothy for not further humiliating David's family. Dorothy, initially irritated, tries to calm Karen down by suggesting she go easier on Alice and move her husband and Peter's remains to a cemetery instead of keeping them at home. Wanting some distance from her mother, Alice considers returning to Beijing, but Emma advises her to think it through carefully. The next day, Alice buys several books to prepare for the civil service exam. Meanwhile, Emma hosts a livestream on her dance account, sharing her journey to rebuild her life after losing her legs. She credits her mom for giving her the courage to start over and also discusses her prosthetics, promoting Tom's business. Her story reaches a wide audience. Dorothy, Brandon, and his students watch it with such admiration and love for Emma, and even David, who watches in secret with a sense of regret. Dorothy meets Tom, bringing him food as a gesture of thanks. But she's also subtly curious about his background and Emma's situation. She begins to see him as a possible match for her daughter. Later, Principal Zhang meets with Emma, telling her that the Provincial Disabled Persons Federation has invited her to perform at the National Day Gala. Though Emma feels unsure, Principal Zhang leaves the application form, encouraging her to think it over. Curious about Brandon, Emma asks Principal Zhang about his story, and she learns that 8 years ago Brandon won the prestigious Golden Magpie Award in his sophomore year. Despite receiving many invitations from top dance companies after graduating, Brandon gave up his career unexpectedly. Meanwhile, Brandon helps Dorothy renovate her store. Emma tries to convince him to join her at the National Day Gala, but he declines, telling her to focus on her current popularity to livestream and sell products instead. His words frustrate Emma, who tells him he's wasting his talent, but her irritation is interrupted when Tom calls her away. Tom shows Emma a new dance studio and office space he's rented for their business. Though surprised at first,
she's thrilled when Tom reveals their profit from recent brand deals.
Tom then suggests they stop collaborating with Brandon,
claiming his choreography is too complex and unnecessary for showcasing Emma's prosthetic. When Emma shares her invitation to the gala, Tom enthusiastically supports her, encouraging her to go for it. Tom decides that working with Brandon again would be essential for Emma's gala performance and assures Emma that he'll convince Brandon to join.
Though Brandon initially hesitates, Tom persuades him, emphasizing the business benefits, and Brandon finally agrees. That evening, Dorothy and Brandon have dinner, where Dorothy shares Emma's excitement over her first payment, though she's saddened that Emma is giving most of it to David's family. Brandon suggests she move back in with Emma if she's that concerned, to take care of her better. Dorothy then wonders if Tom might have feelings for Emma but afraid that Emma isn't worthy for him, which irritates Brandon. Dorothy soon realizes Brandon's feelings for Emma, and she decides to bring them together. Meanwhile, Karen calls Emma, stating that she plans to rent out Alice's room since she isn't coming home. Knowing Alice can hear, Karen uses this as a threat to get her to return, but it backfires and Alice signals Emma to tell Karen that she can do whatever she wants.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.